Hey everybody, welcome to Sugatan Effect Podcast. This is Kris, your host, CEO and founder of Sugatan.io, and I have here one of my top strategists, Domantas, who has essentially was hire number one inside Sugatan. And that was back in July of 2018. Fast forward to March 2020, we had decided to start our own e-commerce business, and Domantas was essentially transferred into working on product discovery and product scaling for our own internal business full time. In tandem, we have Sergei, who is one of our lead video strategists inside Sugatan, who started as a freelancer that we found on Upwork and became, much to all of our surprise, a superstar in essentially becoming one of our top lead video strategists, and is responsible for scaling e-commerce brands, most recently at seven-figure ads. And his most recent credential is one of our ad accounts went from 300,000 monthly revenue to 1.77 million in monthly revenue, with the catalyst of the video ads that he created. And so, welcome, guys.
Hey, guys. It is very nice to be here.
We're going to cover the topic of how Domantas started from the ground up formulating our own e-commerce product, which is Sleekier.com. That's SLEEKIER.com. In the very beginning, we didn't even know that Sleekier was going to be Sleekier. We had no idea what product we were going to scale. So Domantas started from the ground up. And then we're just going to talk about what that journey was, because I was not heavily involved in it. I just gave the seed capital of 100,000 was really the seed capital that we fully invested in before we started seeing the return on the capital. So let's just dive in here. Domantas started July 2018. He was in Spain at the time, and Domantas is based in Lithuania. And on December of 2018, he came to visit me in New York. I picked you up at the airport. I don't know, but we were in an Uber, maybe on the way to LA.
Yeah.
And I asked you, I was like, what's your long-term goal? And you were like, I want to one day own my own e-commerce business. And then I said to you on that day, you and I are going to be partners in this business. I'm going to invest in this business that you want to start.
Yeah, I remember that.
And back then, back then we were just so early in the game too.
Yeah, I was like extremely excited about working with my own ecom. Like even in the 2018, I was just dreaming about having my own project. I was just like lacking a lot of experience. I think that experience of 2 years of just working with the clients was just amazing. To understand not only like how to do the marketing, but also like understand like what kind of cogs you should look, what kind of cogs should be, also all the backup numbers before even starting the ecom. When you're starting to scale the ecom, you see that what are the biggest obstacles you have. So one of the obstacles is increasing, CPA costs. So if you don't have good cogs, you're probably going to not be able to scale, that big. All of this experience really like helped me to understand really the basics, what you need to have for your like ecom. And with Sleekier, I actually originally started just exploring dropshipping. Before starting Sleekier, like 6 months, something like that, I started doing dropshipping, just exploring on the site. Everyone was doing that. I started doing it. We gained some success, but it wasn't the model I really liked, because I felt it's just not very who I am, because a lot of the times shipments get lost. I even started to get like very, aggressive emails to me. I was like, shit, this is not for me for sure. So I was like, I need to do something else. And that was Sleekier,
I remember that though. Remember we were doing the product discovery through drop shipping. And then I remember having a meeting and you're like, look, Kris, we shouldn't do drop shipping. That's not the path that we should go on. And I remember being so money focused at the time. It was like, look, let's just diversify the revenue in the agency. Let's just bring in some easy money through drop shipping. And I think 2 months in, you were like, we can't do this. We're just in the CPA game. Yeah. It's just about squeezing that CPA down as much as possible and then bringing shitty product to the customers, essentially.
Yeah. I didn't just see that this is as a long term. I met a lot of dropshippers along the way, and all of them were saying, just like, be careful, make sure that you really want to be here. I think they're just trying to warn me before I actually made the decision. And I'm really glad that we actually made this decision, because our strongest thing, I feel like, as an agency is just like having a project and then making it work. I remember you said it a couple of times, and it's actually true. Like we can work a lot of time on this project and just try to make it work. This is how we do, stuff. I feel like it's very good that we decided to, focus on just e-commerce, just creating our own product, because that's where our strongest part is. So I'm very happy about it.
Just to give everybody context on Sleek here, we were able to scale in 100K per month in revenue in basically about 2.5 months from starting the ads account. That was actually what I was hoping for, because that's our capability and that's our skill. And we actually capped the scale at 100K per month solely because we knew that we needed to optimize on the formula just to create a better product. And so Domantas was actually limiting the maximum that we can actually scale it to, one, for inventory management, and two, because you did quality control on the product and not like water it down, just because our first formula of the product through discovery wasn't the optimal formula. And so now we're in the middle of doing version 2.0, which is optimizing on the actual formula itself. And that's the phase that we're in right now.
We definitely had like quite some problems, the product itself. Like with the Facebook ads, it's not only that's why we stopped, scaling, because like at the time we had like a huge potential of just like putting money, just getting, 4x ROI like right away. That is how Facebook sometimes works. Like Sergei created just an amazing, video that just started to perform like crazy. At the time, we didn't have enough stock to fulfill all the orders. And that's why we needed to basically stop the machine. Product quality was a problem. And then also stock was also a big issue. It was our first time, doing that at a scale. We actually expected like 2x less revenue at that month. And we like, oh my God, we started seeing the numbers. So it was like, we need to increase the budget. We need to increase the budget. And then like, when we spend a certain amount, it was like, oh shit, we don't have stock. So we needed to order like an express, stock. And like, it just was a crazy journey. But like, working along with Sergei, like he was just amazing and created one of the best ads for the Sleeker. And it was just like printing money.
Let's take a step back here, because let's start from the beginning. You were exploring many niches when you were doing drop shipping. You discovered through the drop shipping phase was the category or the niche that you knew you wanted to go into.
I decided on focusing on basically girls' audience, not just because of the products that I worked previously, but I just really liked working with this audience. And I feel like that's also like one of the hacks you can do. You're like thinking, what kind of product you want to sell is basically just, think of like what kind of audience you actually would want to work with. Girls are more like emotional buyers, creating this kind of more emotional, copies, headlines, videos. Maybe, working with women, it's going to be just more like me. I will have more success because first of all, I have more experience with that. And I just personally like that audience. So that was clear, path that I need to start working with beauty, because that's where most of the revenue comes from.
We advertise on impulse channels, and women are impulse buyers more so than I think men are. It's easy. I mean, the market is there essentially. So then we decided to do hair care. You decided to do hair care. What led you to hair care?
So actually, I had a couple of other ideas in my mind. We eventually decided on hair care because I just felt like it was just the right move. At the time, I was using like a very good spy tool, and I was just like going through different ads, and I was just like looking at different niches, and I just like found one of the ads that had very similar kit that we currently have. It was just like a different brand, different packaging, like looked nice, I started looking at their, price point. In my mind, I always had that, okay, I need to have quite high AOV, at least like $80. I should also have ability to scale, that AOV to over $100, which is definitely possible with hair care. And also I wanted to have like a, huge retention rate. Having all that in my mind, when I saw that product where advertising of, hair care, I can create something similar to it, but in a different way for a specific type of girls. That would be, girls with flakes, and have, the right cogs. In the beginning, I knew, what are the cogs for the hair care. Then I knew that I'm going to have the retention rate and also going to have a huge AOV. And also the product is for women, and then it solves a specific problem, which I know that then we can create a really good ads for that specific problem. All the pieces went like together, and I was like, okay, that's the picture, and that's where I need to go to. When people are doing the research, they like come up with these kind of ideas, and then they just like simply trust themselves and then decide where they want to go.
That's the benefit of what all the cumulative experience that we've had on agency side is. That the AOV has to be between $80 to $120. Can't go below that. And that's if you are targeting a US-based audience, because the CPAs and the CPMs on Facebook has just risen over time. You also have to have a low enough COGS, which we try to shoot for something less than 20% COGS of what the AOV would be. And then it's also a product that built into its DNA would have a high retention rate if the product quality was great, because then you're never really just working for CPA. You're building a foundation that can build on itself. You have to understand, having the experience that we have, we know that there has to be a great marriage between all of that. And then you have a really solid foundation to scale from. All right. So then you came to Sleek Gear, which is hair care specifically for females who have dandruff. To be frank with you guys, like, this is something that I have an issue with. Okay. Like, first of all the protein that I ingest goes straight to my hair. In comparison to most women, my hair grows above average, like quickly. In my family, my mom had it. I have a flaky scalp. It's dependent on the weather. It's dependent on the environment that I'm in. And I travel all the time. I've never found a reliable, shampoo for it. There's a massive opportunity in this for sure to be the leader in the market. Now, when I qualify e-commerce brands to be a client inside Sugatan, I always look for the demonstrability of the product. It's the marketability of the product through social media ads. I knew you guys had a challenge to market this. Now walk me through this, because this is where Sergei, comes in. And Sergei, again, what's surprising and what I'm so proud of inside Sugatan is that, half of our team is men, half of our team is female. Half of our team is Eastern European. Half of our team is US based. When you think about a female hair care, which we're targeting US based, you guys navigated through those challenges that from the outside's perspective, it's like, oh, that's a challenge, that you guys are targeting a female demo. How do you market to them, et cetera, et cetera? So let's dive deep into that. And did you guys ever have any concern about English is not the first language, right? And obviously you're men. How do you get into the female psychology? How do you market to them? How do you speak their language in a visual format, right? Because e-commerce is so visual, even like creating the sleeker website, right? And so let's dive deep into that.
For me personally, that definitely was a challenge. And I feel like we still like have a lot of challenges. Sometimes I like even thinking that if I would be a woman, I would definitely like understand the whole problem in a different way, and maybe that would benefit me a lot. I just try to do research and just like keep me updated. I read a lot of blogs. I do research on Reddit. I go and read reviews and just like try to paint a big picture. What is the problem? How girls feeling? There's like several, categories of flaky scalp. There's like several causes of that flaky scalp. These kind of causes, gives, a different feelings. We did a huge research on all of it. I even like watched like over 10 hours, I think, of like YouTube videos of girls, just reviewing hair care products, showing their dandruff, showing their flakes. I was like, shit, what I'm doing with my life? Like I'm watching the girls' content. I was like, okay. So I feel like
it's also not pretty. It's like not pretty.
I would agree. So, it's just dedication, to just respecting the audience and just trying to understand their problems. I feel like that's just the key for, direct marketing in general. Sergei will be able to also say his part, but I feel like from my end, what I see Sergei is also doing like really good. And that's why he been creating like really good ads, is that he also like spends a lot of the time on the research. And when he comes up with different storyboards, like I see that he understands the problem not just by surface, but he really like deeply understands the frustration that these girls have. The research part is just like in the whole e-commerce space is just not, it should be talked more about it and should be more strategies about it. I feel like research is
Yeah.
such an important part in direct marketing, and like for our agency, it's just like such an important topic. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's actually, Sergey, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's like your secret sauce to me. And I don't know. I mean, like, how do you do it? It's still an enigma to me, because now Sergey is the lead strategist on another account where it's US based female women, 45 plus, right? And Sergey, I don't even know how old you are. How old are you?
I just turned 24.
And yet, Sergey was able to go vertical and deep into the psyche that he was able to produce 7-figure video ads that scaled this particular account. We do have a celebrity behind it, so the scale has been exponential. But even without the celebrity behind that, Sergey, you were the one that essentially led the video ad strategy, the data-driven creative approach inside Sleekier. And I know that that's transferable to any other account. So it's like, describe your process. I mean, like, yeah.
I don't know. I will try. So I have to say that before that, I had worked on other accounts as well, right? So, and my approach was a little bit different, I guess, because I didn't have a lot of experience, in the ads manager too, in terms of research and etc.
Yeah, you got thrown in. You were brand new to the game.
Most of my, projects on freelancing, like on Upwork, it was dropshipping, video ads. And it's a completely different thing. When it's dropshipping, they don't even give you the access to its manager. You don't have the data to analyze. You just need to provide a video or something like that. And that's it. So you cannot learn that well. And then when I came working to Sugatans, it changed, but not like right away, because I was a video editor. I worked on another hair brand, which is for a Black-owned brand, right? It was a really, really helpful experience because I could transfer that a little bit to Sleekier too. Dandruff, for example, it's a huge problem. 4C type hair, for example. I was like, what is it all about? Like one account and another. And Sleekier, I heard it could solve for this really huge problem with flakes, like and flaky scalp. And I was like, right away, I want to work on this account because I can relate to it, because I had like skin issues from my childhood, which was, I'm not sure how it's called in English, like dermatology. Yeah, something like that. So I could heal it over time, like by the age of 16, I believe. But in my childhood is like a huge problem. And we kind of, started, I checked the ads that we had, and I saw that most of the previous ads, they were like very like general and broad, not focusing on one specific problem. And I was like, since we have this really, really powerful product that can solve for this flaky scalp problem, we should be really, really focused on that one and just go full in with it. And basically we started testing different angles for the flaky scalp problem.
How do you go about deciding and committing to an angle or a strategy? And also, you guys had very limited content to work with in the first place. I find that even today inside our agency, we're always facing a content issue. That goes for every single e-commerce brand that is starting out. So what was you guys' approach to solving for content? We should also go into the finances too, in terms of that breakdown of that 100K investment. I have no idea how much this is going to actually cost from a like investor's perspective, right? But now after investing in 2 totally separate e-commerce brands from the ground up, 100K is like the true investment, honestly, from an investor's perspective. That's like if I'm not the one that's going in there and doing it, right? Those startups that are just figuring this out from the ground up, using their own money and doing the execution. But like from an investor's perspective, 100K was like at the point where we started getting the return on that investment. Now that's if you're starting from ground zero, as in formulating a product from the ground up. That's twofold thing. But like first, let's go with the first question that I had, which was, how did you guys solve for the content issue? And then what was your process for committing to an angle and then optimizing from there?
The angle part, I feel like I will give this part to you, Sergey. I just want to say about the content, because that definitely was a huge problem in the beginning. We actually tested just a regular path where you just explore, influencers. And that was just terrible for us because it was expensive comparing the content that we got. This is like 50, different influencers. And I feel like we had like 2 or 3 girls that was, good. So it wasn't enough. So then I started explore, like other options. And we actually found that like new beginner actors is really good because they usually ask, just a $50 per like a project that includes several videos.
Yeah.
And it's quite easy actually to find them. I did it through Instagram, and that appeared that you can actually test those actors even before paying them any money, just to understand if they have the right voice, if they have the right feeling, if they look good on the camera and all of it. So basically, when we found that we can actually reach these new actors and just like paying them like $50 per video per storyboard, it was just amazing, because then we basically had a very cheap a lot of the content, and we could do that on volume. So basically we could cover basically any angle we wanted. So it was just amazing, So anyone who is trying to find the right content for them, just go and look for new beginner actors, and I'm just going to guarantee it's going to be a phenomenal, trust me.
October of last year, we had already tested influencer marketing as a resource for content. But then one of the issues that we faced is a lot of influencers, the micro influencers, because influencers in general are just getting more and more expensive, obviously, but the micro influencers that were not inexpensive, they were also not good at being authentic in front of the camera. They didn't have a good camera setup. And it took a while. It was a hit or miss in terms of reliability about whether they were going to actually reliably provide that content back to us. And so that poses issues. Right around this time, Ben came to me literally landed on my lap. Okay. And I was like, I flew to LA just to explore creating what I call a satellite content production studio. I didn't even know what the heck that was going to look like, but I knew that it was such an immediate need that I flew to LA. Ben landed on my lap as a like recommended hire for Sugatan, because somebody was just like, I think you need somebody like Ben. All right, well, hi Ben, what do you do? All right, cool. I think you can definitely add value inside Sugatan. And he was a post-production manager with his background. But I was like, well, can you help me set up a content studio here in LA? And so he became my right-hand person for producing content. And by luck or chance, and again, this is all I'm not a superstitious person. I'm a spiritual person. I really do believe that things are always working out for me, even if in the surface, it seems like everything is like not going well. I'm just like, oh, this is just the mountain that's in my way to get to the ocean as a river. You know what I mean? Let's just go with it. And by, I don't know, serendipity, whatever, Ben was like, I'm really interested in content production. Yes, I have a post-production background, but this is what I really want to do. So I was like, okay, let's do it together. And we like Airbnb'd, or I don't know, like, let's just rent a location. Let's just use Backstage to like recruit actresses. Haley at the time, who was the lead video strategist for the account, she was like, here's the storyboards. And then like Ben organized the whole thing. And then I led the first 2 content production shoots with these actresses. The quality was just so much better. They understood, they knew authenticity. They were professional. They showed up, they were on time. And then their day rates are great. And so it's inexpensive. I really do think that this is like the way to, forge content moving forward. And gosh, like they have been just so invaluable for some of the women that we've met, that we continue to have relationships and we continue to give them work, because then we transfer them over into the other accounts. Yeah, I mean, just phenomenal. It's like an untapped resource that I feel like, again, this is my whole philosophy, as in like, sit there and you figure it out. That's my whole thing. It's like, let's go to like actors and actresses in LA. And I remember thinking like, this is going to be expensive. LA is an expensive city. We would get like probably 20 pieces of workable content in like a 2.5 hour range with just that one actress doing like really good UGCs.
And we had, maybe it's a little bit different for these two accounts. What we had and what we wanted to test specifically is like script, right? We didn't have time for them to test the products. And most of the girls, they didn't have the flaky scalp problem, right? So we needed them to show that experience of using the products. And what they told us is that overall the products were really, really good for their hair, because you can also get all of the benefits, right, for your hair. But then for that flaky scalp part, we needed to have scripts, and they were really natural, and that's what we were looking for, because before that we had problems with the actresses. They were acting, and we needed really natural looking, convincing UGC. So that's why we kind of came up with the process where Domantas would be reaching out to the girls, and then we would take them through a funnel where we would give them a test task, and then I started hopping on a call with them and all of that stuff. And then like Domantas said, it started to improve. But back when I just joined the account, I think we started from scratch. Like me and Domantas, we just checked what we have and just started working with what we had. And the first ad, I still remember, it was like, I just had a compilation of the girls, like of the sound bites from those girls who didn't sound convincing, but just the pieces, and we put it together, and that was the first ad. And we had a meme bar or something like that about the flaky scalp. And then it performed well for the first ad. It was pretty good.
Domantas, you and I started, and Sergei, when you were doing ads for dropshipping, we started during the peak of like the Facebook ad. I would call it golden age. I have a philosophy that in digital marketing, every digital marketing strategy that is proven has probably a shelf life of about 3 to 5 years. When you come in early enough, too early for the algorithm to mature enough to actually serve to your quality audience. It's coming at a time when the algorithm has matured, but then the CPMs are still cheap and the competition is low at that time because it's not mainstream knowledge to be on that platform yet. That goes for everything. SEO was that at one point. Google Ads was that at one point. Influencer marketing, even if you were to measure it down to a CPM, that was that at one point. Then Facebook ads was that, right? And so now we're coming into the Facebook apocalypse, right? And so now we have to go back into innovating again and going right back to discovery and innovation and, redrawing the map again. And so when we all first started, we were at the peak of like Facebook ads, and I understood that UGCs were going to work. And during the time when we first started in 2018, UGCs were like, nobody was really doing UGCs. And so if you get a shitty UGC up in terms of the quality and the framing, but it was a person selling the product rather than the brand selling the product, it was going to bring in sales. It was going to give us a 3x ROAS. Like Smart Suites was our very first account. I mean, come on now, like that was it was so easy for video ads at that time. And then I think sometime last year, I started sort of like losing faith in UGCs because everybody started doing UGCs. And then my feed was like inundated with like shitty UGCs. And then it just like watered down, in terms of like the believability of a UGC. I was like, it just kind of became like a drop shipping method at that point. It was like drop shipping association, which is like, I don't trust this shit. This is not legitimate. And the really interesting part during my whole UGC, like being in there and trying to grapple with it and understand it to where it is now, I always go back to traditional marketing principles, which will never, never go away. It will always be the evergreen truth, which is that people, word of mouth, selling to other people or telling or sharing their experience to other people in a genuine way will always work no matter what, right? And I learned through working on multiple accounts that the ones who are going to continue to do well with UGCs are the ones who continue to provide high quality, exceptional UGCs. These platforms now that are making it accessible for small brands to do UGCs, but then they're delivering basically the experience that we had with our influencer marketing team, bringing in raw content from the micro influencers. They're not genuine. They're not authentic. They're not there's no X factor into them. The personality is kind of dry, like the lighting sucks, the framing sucks, right? But I've learned that UGCs are still going to do really well if it's just done exceptionally. And so for with Holly, who's now our director of video ads, hired number 2 inside Sugatan, I basically let her know, we need to continue investing in UGCs, but just make sure that we are the fucking best at it, and there's no going around the hard work that needs to be done in order to deliver that. What do you guys think?
I noticed that as well. I think a year or so ago, that's where I saw that there's the testimonial videos were keep popping up more and more often. And in the beginning where we were mainly just was a small amount of brands that actually discovered that and started using that. And now basically almost every brand has this. People have their filter that, they look at the ad and they right away they can say if it's bullshit or if it's real. So I would say that it's also very important, if you're choosing the actors, and that's why we also do tests, because some girls just know how to talk and lie in front of a camera. That's one of the things that we're also looking for from the actors. So I feel just having the high quality that you told is 100% sure. You just want to make sure that the storyboard is high quality. The girl, the way she talks, it's just high end, also just basics of just videographing is just good lighting, good camera. It can be just a phone, but it should still it should be good quality. Just testimonial videos you see going to work no matter what. You just choose to trust the person.
It's people selling to people.
Yeah, totally. So I totally agree with you.
You have to keep in mind all of these minor things that if you don't take care of, everything will go to hell. And it's the quality issues.
Yeah.
It's so hard, to align on these things, even inside the team. When you ask, somebody from the team to produce content, it's so hard when you ask, for example, iPhone footage, and then they send full shots on DSLR camera or something like that. Or then they use a software to export the footage, and then we cannot use it. It's so hard. That's why I think hopping on a call with them and repeating everything a few times, it's the best way.
I know what some people are thinking. That seems so inauthentic to hire actors and actresses to sell your product if the experience itself is inauthentic. We're doing 2 things simultaneously. One is we do want to get the authentic reaction to the product when we introduce the product to the actors and actresses, because in our mind, we're collecting customer psychology feedback. So it's important for us to get the data points about the first impression when we introduce it, from the time that what I'm looking for when I give product to these actors, actresses is what is I watch them. I watch their face. I watch their expression. I watch their reaction. I try to tease out and extract their actual thoughts around it, even if it's good or bad. And then I watch them interact with the packaging and with the product itself. How did they open it? Because I'm looking for those key shots that I know are going to be a thumb stopper, or is going to create more interest to get them to commit to watching more of the video, for example. In between those moments that the camera is off, how are they actually genuinely, authentically engaging with the product? Because that informs me. It's so important. We're always studying the human and the authentic human reaction, because what we do really well at inside Sugatan is optimization. And so we're gathering data points to understand this probably is an area that might need to be optimized. Number two, we try to get authentic journeys from them. So like what you said, Sergey, you wanted the journey of using it. Like we want that to be recorded. This is at the stage of, again, your new e-commerce brand, and you're trying to manage getting raw content at an inexpensive price at volume so that you can scale as fast as possible. Now we're at the stage that you're starting to get customers, right? Then you start to get feedback from customers. And where we're at inside Sugatan is that we are then extracting the stories, the success stories of the customers that we have gotten. We're walking them through creating content on our behalf, because again, it's all about that authentic story that is a very individual, unique story to that person. That's what we're trying to extract here. And that's going to be the most important aspect, even if obviously, ideally, the framing and everything is good, but like the story itself is going to be the most valuable thing, because it's a true, authentic experience of the product where they got results. And it hits so many things. It could be done for marketing, but it can also inform us on like the true user experience, the true value in optimizing the brand itself and the value of the brand. So that's where we're at. That's the stage that we're at right now, which I don't think definitely not a lot of brands are doing. Is like, whenever I talk to eCom founders, it's a new concept to them to tap into the customers who have gotten results and extracting content from them. It's just like, oh shit, like what? They're like, oh yeah, the furthest that people go to is like leave a review on the website. But like Amazon has trained everybody that reviews are still sketch. Like, is that a hired review? Is that like a sponsored review? Did you pay for that review? Is that an authentic review? So now, when I go onto Amazon, I look for the photos.
Yeah.
Because then I think, oh, that's like a real review to me, that they like basically the fucking against a shitty ass carpet, and they're opening it. And then it's like the cat goes by the background. It's like, oh, this is an authentic freaking review, And so that's the evolution of where we're at right now. And so it's like, that's where we need to be. And I think that this is a good strategy, I think, for the next 2.5, 3 years, is like investing in really setting up an infrastructure to extract content from the customers who have gotten results.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with this as well. Like just getting the content from your customers is going to be much more valuable than hiring the actor to do the job. And I noticed that as well. Like, if you can get an honest feedback, like in a video format, like this is huge. Like you can use it in your ads, and like if the lighting is all right, and like if the even video looks decent, you can make like a lot of money with that particular video. So that's talking about the new beginner ecom brand owners. It's definitely a very hard mission in the beginning. The actors, we tried to like not lie, but just like try to impersonate some of the stories that customers had. So at least to make it real stories that someone had in their life, and just not create from our heads. When you start getting the customers, this is definitely a very smart strategy to start reaching out to your customers, calling them, asking about the product, and then you will find some of them that are like huge fan of your product, especially if it's working really well for them. You can offer discounts, coupons. They will be really willing to create content for you. So that's definitely going to be a huge in 2 to 3 years, since that we have massive shift with Facebook and other platforms. It's going to be all about making a better creative, and I feel like that's what's going to make that creative stand out. So yeah.
I have a question for you guys. How are you guys navigating the post iOS world?
we're trying to adapt. I feel like with like everyone, we're seeing a lot of changes in the platform. CPMs. Try to don't panic about it. We like keep testing new platforms like TikTok. I'm very excited about TikTok. I feel like this is going to be a huge platform in those 2 to 3 years. It's possible that it could reach kind of Facebook level. And currently, it's actually like on the phase where maybe Facebook were back in like 5 years. CPMs are really good. CPCs are cheap. Maybe the buying power is not still there yet, but it has like a lot of users, and I feel like it just needs to catch up. So I feel like, just tapping into different channels is definitely a must step. Tapping into your recurring customers definitely going to help you a lot. Making your AOV higher, also like simple things like just bundling some products, trying to improve your AOV, then maybe adding some cards on your in your shipping boxes just to get another repeat customer. Like all these small things adds up and just increase your just revenue in general and just AOV. Just focusing on new channels, focusing on your current customers, increasing AOV, and then just for Facebook, just focusing on better content and better ads. I feel like that's the way to go, and we need to wait till Facebook is going to introduce their solutions. Maybe they're going to introduce some shop solutions inside their platform. Is going to help a lot. Everyone is just in a kind of strange situation right now. I feel like a lot of people are uncomfortable currently, but I feel like is good. Like this change needed to happen.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, it's definitely. So it's going to be harder for things like for drop shippers, but I feel like there's where a big loss happens, I feel like there's a lot of also opportunity to dive in and create new strategies. So I'm actually happy about this change. I feel like it's going to make a good impact to the industry itself. So yeah.
Sergey, what's your recommendation for those who are creating video ads, like from, the ground up, essentially? And like the relationship between that and media buying? They're interdependent.
So like Domantas said, I would say to focus on the content for ads. It's essential. If I had to choose between real customers and hiring actors, I would definitely choose customers, because I think it's the perfect scenario, which we should aim for, right? But just, in the beginning, when you don't have a lot of customers or something, you have to go for those, other options to figure it out. And if we look back, basically what we were doing with actors, we were trying to replicate that kind of real experience that is basically we should get from the customers, right? And that's why we were given, like Domantas said, we were given real stories in the scripts and based on our research and stuff like that. So that is a must for a good content. And then for media buying and creatives, I would say that communication is the key. I was really lucky on Sleeker with Domantas because we had a really good, communication loop. We realized that there were only like 2 of us and our staff or copywriter, but then we didn't have, because the structure of the team was not that complex, I guess, it was helping us at some point because, we were going directly on calls like 101 and then we can decide on our strategy. And it was really, really helpful. If you have an opportunity to analyze all of your ads yourself, I mean, the ads creators, the video strategists, so graphics, that's good. Just go ahead to the ads manager and check it. And optimizations is the key. Also, I think you need to build up on what works for you, like always, and see that, those signals, and just to look at the data that you're getting as the asset, right? Because we're paying for it. And basically every week, if you test every week, then just look at the data and, learn. And yeah, and what I think sometimes I miss, and this is not on Sleeker, but overall in my work, is that sometimes you need to have input from other people. You might be a really brilliant strategist, but we are all different, and every minor word can impact the whole strategy, right? Because you may not even look in at a thing at that point at a certain angle, right? So we have all different angles.
I'm taking notes here because it's all really good. Even myself, I'm taking notes, right? Like one of the things you said is tight feedback loop, direct collaboration for the least complexity, because that helps things move faster. And then the other thing, the second thing you said, Sergey, is you do need to have like gathering feedback from multiple sources. That's actually why I implemented the agile methodology last year, is so that the brain power. This is what I explained to Nicola yesterday in our call, which is our very new senior ad buyer. I explained to him that the brain power used to be concentrated on one person, which is formerly the senior ad buyer. The creative strategist sort of like made a little bit of suggestions, but we weren't activating the brain power of the creatives, of the creative team. And so agile methodology was meant so that we can have the time to actually bring exponential brain power for those who are believable in terms of like have proven that their strategic thinking has driven 10x value, essentially. That's what I was trying to express to Nicola yesterday. Like, it's not that authority or whatever is given to one person. Like, yes, one person should make the decision and be the tiebreaker, but ultimately it has to be a very collaborative place, because not one person can actually make all the strategic decisions. Like, it's just, we saw David has tried to do it in Averiglow, and it's like, you have to have a system that activates the collective brain power of those people whose strategic thinking has been proven to deliver 10x value. And that's like the work of operations, you know? Like,
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it has to be in a pretty good relationship, right? To be able to criticize each other's ideas, right? Because you need to filter. What I also have experience in, for example, is when a team can brainstorm together and nobody's filtering out those ideas, right? Because you really need to make sure that you have that really healthy balance. Because what if all of the team members bring ideas just because they think that our demographic will be interested in that, and that is not based on the real research or the data, right? That is, like you said, you need to have really, knowledgeable people in your team. And and if we criticize each other's ideas, that's for good.
You're actually touching on, I call it synergy, and that's on a high level for me when I think about dynamics between team members and team composition. All the details about what's not being agreed on and what's creating the tension doesn't really matter to me. It's really about the synergy is being blocked. Like, if there's no good synergy, because one of the things that you mentioned, Domantas and Sergei, you guys have great synergy, right? And so it's like, and Josh, he comes in on Thursdays. He's director of finance now, and we do 6-hour strategy session, and the synergy is so good. It's just kicking back ideas back and forth while having that like really good base level respect. That's true great collaboration. Part of the work on the high level is how do we reduce the synergy blocks, essentially, because that's so imperative to accomplishing our goal of faster, especially at the period that we're in, which is like innovation. That's a new period that we're in right now.
When we started working with Sleeker, basically, and like Sergey came 2 months in, and then I realized like how important it is to have a like constant communication with video editors, and then letting them understand how ads work, like analyze data together, then think of new ideas together. And I feel like that's like a lot of ad buyers or marketers in general, they just don't share a good communication with their video editors. And it's like at some point it just feels like two separate entities, like ad buying teams, and then video editors teams, and then like ad buyers knows something, and then if something goes bad, then they like kind of makes all fall to the video editors because the videos that doesn't perform. So it's like, okay, let's have a brainstorm session tomorrow, prepare some ideas, exchange, and then improve, because I know that sometimes brainstorming for one person is going to be a very hard thing to do. Definitely improving the communication and relationship with your team. And for example, for the ad buyers, video editors is just such an important thing, like such a great hack to improve the overall strategy.
This is really fun, guys.
Yeah.
I love getting together.
I feel like we touch a lot of topics, and I feel like it's going to be super valuable for for like any marketer, but especially for the beginners, like who wants to build their e-com. I feel like we touch a lot of, ground things that I wish to, watch and saw when I started Sleeker. So yeah.
Well, what's next in Sleeker?
So the next things are exploring new channels. First of all, because I definitely want to have more diversify. I want to really make TikTok work. I keep hearing that it works. You just need to have the right content. It's a bit more difficult than Facebook because you need to have, very native content. And when you launch it, it dies out very fast. So this is very excites me, and I feel like we have a huge opportunity with TikTok. So that's definitely where I'm spending a lot of time. And the second thing, which is the most important, is improving the product and make it work better. So the original problem was that the product was more or less general for all the flakes, but now we're just creating more specific products for specific flakes, which ultimately going to improve the whole efficiency. So those two things are going to be the next for Sleeker, and it's going to help us definitely scale even more and pass 200, 300, 400K a month barrier. So yeah. Just very exciting times.
Just looking at the three of us in terms of the growth that we've all experienced from when we first started our journey, this is something that is truly any amount of money can buy. This is actually what I will take to the grave on my deathbed and just think about that. This is awesome. And of course, we still have a lot of work to do, but that's all part of the process and journey. So thank you both. I value you both so tremendously. And thank you for the growth in general, because that's what I value the most. And the money is just a reflection of that journey and the process of like optimization, making good decisions along the way, making a shit ton of mistakes and failing and then getting back up again. And that's all I'm looking for, is that improvement. And it's been awesome, guys. So thanks so much. This was fun. Woo! Let's keep at it. And everybody that's listening, we'll keep keeping you guys in the loop, because this is not the only time that we're all going to get together. We're just going to keep you guys looped into the journey. So thanks for listening, you guys, and talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Just as a FYI, we are accepting applications until August 15th for new accounts that we're looking to scale, all the way into Q4 and through the rest of the year. The last time we accepted applications was in January of this year. And so this is a big deal for us. We love looking at all the businesses that are coming in. But after August 15th, we close applications. We're looking for those accounts that we can really invest our efforts into for the rest of the year going into Q4. So if you think that's you, don't hesitate, submit your application. And then we're doing a hard cutoff on August 15th. See you guys there. Lastly, if you're seeing this past August 15, 2021, make sure you just give us your email address, because we make the announcement to our subscribers list first when we do open up new applications. They're the very first ones to get the notification, which usually happens a week before we announce it to the rest of our community on the other channels. So make sure you give us your email address and get in our list, so that way we can add you in there and give you those announcements as the first round of candidates to be considered.